Good afternoon and welcome to the Pasco Public Facilities District Board meeting. Agenda packets are available on the City of Pasco's website at www.pasco-wa.gov under the Public Facilities District Board webpage. This meeting is also being televised live on PSC-TV channel 191 on Spectrum Cable in Pasco and Richland, and is streamed on the city's Facebook page, website, YouTube channel, and Microsoft Teams. Lastly, the public may submit their comments and or questions by contacting the Pasco Public Facilities District Executive Director or Pasco City Clerk. So it is now 4:04 p.m. and it is time to call to order the Tuesday, March the 18th, 2025 Pasco Public Facilities District Board meeting. If you'd please do the roll call, Debbie.
Carolyn Bowdish. Here. Leonard Dietrich.
Yes.
Great. Marie Gillespie. Here. Spencer Gillette.
Here.
And Mark Morissette.
Here.
All accounted for, sir.
Thank you. Debbie, if you'd go ahead with the recognition of visitors and public comments.
Certainly. This item is provided to allow the public an opportunity to bring items to the attention of the Pasco Public Facilities District Board. Its purpose is not to provide a venue for debate or for posing questions with an expectation of an immediate response. Public comments will normally be limited to 3 minutes by each speaker. Those with lengthy messages are invited to summarize their comments and or submit written information for consideration by the PPFD board outside of formal meetings. Lastly, when called upon, please state your name and the city or county of residency before providing your comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Is there anybody online?
Nobody online or submitted questions, and looking through the audience, I believe everybody here is
Accounted for?
Accounted for.
Okay.
No, I'm not seeing public comments, but you might ask just to make sure.
Is there anybody here present who would like to address the board today, other than the mountain folks and Paul Whitemarsh? Nope, hearing none. Then we move on to agenda item 4A, which is to approve the board meeting, the February 2025 board meeting minutes.
I move to approve them.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the February 2025 board meeting minutes. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor of approving the minutes as presented, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no.
Yes.
Motion carries. Claims approval, agenda item 5A. And we're going to turn that over to you, Darcy.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, Mr. Morissette. Tonight in your packet, there's a list of items that have been paid on the behalf of the PPFD regarding, or in the month of February, and there's nothing unusual that stands out there to me. They're kind of the same payments that you see on a monthly basis, and we are just looking for your approval of those payments. Please.
Pardon me, is there any questions for Darcy before the motion? Go ahead, Spencer, you want to do the motion?
I'll do the motion.
Perfect.
I move to approve the February 2025 PPFD claims in the amount of $97,260.68.
Is there
Mark, if you could turn your mic back on.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
So it's been moved and seconded to approve the February 2025 accounts payable claims in the amount of $97,260.68. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor of paying the claims as presented, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. The bills are paid. Agenda item 6A. If it's okay with the board members, would it be okay if we put that off until the next board meeting so we can get into the important business at hand, or do you guys want to go through the financial report today?
Postponement's fine by me.
She told me to turn mine on.
Okay. Postponement is fine by me.
It's okay with you guys? Good, thank you. So we'll go ahead and postpone that until the April board meeting. Reports from committees. Design and Construction Committee. Marie, would you go ahead?
I'm not going to provide much of a report because the balance of the agenda will provide input on what the Design and Construction Committee has been up to.
Very good. So then we'll go to 7B, the Budget and Finance Committee. I just want to quickly pass something out to the board members in my interest of trying to understand how sales tax revenue is predicted. Did meet with the Ben Franklin Transit Executive Management Team. And these are just some notes from that meeting, and really that's about as far as I want to talk about it right now. I would rather get on to the next important agenda items. Is that okay?
So when will we talk about this?
Maybe next meeting. Something lighter than, a lighter agenda than this one.
Okay.
I mean, if there's something important pressing that you'd like to talk about, of course I don't want to say no, but.
Well, I don't know anything about this, so.
Okay, good. And then hang on to it for the next board meeting.
Okay.
If we, Mr. President, if we could get a copy of that for the clerk, so that since it was passed out at the meeting, we need to keep sure. Get a copy.
Go
Thank
ahead.
you.
That's, yeah, it's Debbie's.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything under old business, Matt, that we need to take care of?
I don't believe so.
Good. New business, number 9, construction documents presentation. And I'm going to turn this over to Matt to lead this.
Yeah, I just wanted to do an introductory thing because this is the bulk of the meeting tonight, and we're going to be changing hands a couple of times. We've talked so many weeks about getting to a point in the project about the guaranteed maximum price, and tonight, in the shortest terms, is the last chance to say, tonight, hopefully you're going to say, yes, let's go forward with this project. You're going to hear a variety of things tonight, including some pictures of the latest design. You're going to hear guaranteed maximum price. You're going to hear about some potential risks. You're going to hear about updated schedule and a variety of things. And to kick that off is a person that has presented before wonderfully, and we look forward to an update from Brooke Hanley, part of our design team, NAC, out of Spokane. Brooke, good to see you.
Okay, is that on? All right. Good to see you too. Thanks for having us today. We're excited to be here and show you our final renderings of the project, as close to what it might look like in real life as we can. So I'll just dive into that. Please stop me if you have any questions along the way. So we have quite a few here. I'm going to go through them a little bit fast, but if you ever want me to pull back, I can do that. This one is basically as you're driving up 108 and you hit the first entry car drive, what are you going to see as you come up to the building? So this is the view from 108. Oh, it went to sleep. As you get a little bit closer, you've parked, you're going to walk up to the front door. So here's your experience as you're heading through that front entry plaza. This is a view from the site to the north and what you might see as you see the entry door, the lobby, and then the natatorium off to the right, and the big slide tower on the far right. So now we're going to move inside, like you've gone through the vestibule, you're ready to buy your admissions ticket, and you're in the lobby checking out that space. So here we have kind of a hangout space. Off to the left side is one of the party rooms, the big party room, and then off to the right is a grab-and-go concessions market and some soft seating for just hanging out. Maybe you're waiting for your kids to do their swim lessons, or you're waiting for your family to come out of the locker rooms. This is a good place to hang out. This is another view, like if you're standing at the grab-and-go market, looking back towards the admissions desk and the main party room here. The door into the party room, the sliding glass wall is all the way open, so you can open up this space, use a very big area to have lots of groups meet or just hang out. Or you can close that door and have a separate party space. The admissions desk can see everywhere within here. We kept it nice and open so that there's no hidey holes or anything like that. This is the soft seating area, and beyond you can see our big curved wall that houses the party room and the bathrooms beyond, and kind of beckons you to walk down the hallway towards the locker room spaces to get into the natatorium. This is the main party room off the lobby, showing a festive party happening here. You can see the view is pretty nice out into the lobby and also into the natatorium itself. This room is also a spot where you could potentially have those conference meetings for the PFD. So I'll move on to this one. So this is down the hallway just a little bit. You can see the admissions desk and the view that they have over that whole space. And some of the finishes in this space I forgot to mention. We have the rammed earth wall over by the concession space. This is a kind of a specialty feature that has been incorporated into the design to really speak to the sand that's out in the site at this point. You know, kind of the native habitat out there. We can use some of that sand to actually create this rammed earth wall as a special feature within the facility. So we've walked down what we lovingly call Main Street here as you go down towards the locker rooms, and you can see the party rooms here off to the side. We have two more party rooms over here that have an operable wall that closes off each space, so you can have two parties going at the same time, or it opens up into a larger space where you could have a group rent out both rooms at the same time. These rooms are fun because they are customizable with RGB LED lighting along, you can see on the side here on the left with the blue light around the TV. So you can tell the staff, our kids love green or blue, and they can set that up for you and then put your picture up on the TVs at the same time. Kind of customize it for each group. This is the patio space outside of the party rooms where people can go outside for a little bit of fresh air, maybe get away from the kids who are being loud at the time, and then go back inside from there. It's separated from the sidewalk and the parking lot a little bit there with some landscaping, so we don't have people traversing across. So we've gone back inside, turned off of Main Street and headed into the locker room area. So each of these rooms in here is a single space that has a toilet, a shower, and a sink. And so families or groups of people can use these if they want to, or they can be single user occupant type spaces. As you walk into the natatorium, this is a view of what you'll see. You start in with a zero entry area, so the water is right at the deck, and then it gets gradually deeper as you go in. There are other features in the space with the lazy river and the lap lanes and spray features. One of the awesome things here that you will see when you come in is what we call the sun shower in the middle. And so when that's turned on, the lights glow and the rain falls. It also has a sound speaker system in it, so it'll thunder and lightning at the same time if you choose that feature. So you can also see in the background, this is the slide tower, the stairs that go up to the top of the slide tower, and the two runouts that come in inside the building after circling around outside. This is a view of the space when we have the color changing lights turned on and in the roof. Just kind of, it's the same view, just a different way of lighting up the space. This view is a section through the building just to give people an idea of how tall that slide tower really is there. at the highest point, and an idea of how that relates to the lap pool. This also shows some of the features that we've incorporated with, your direction from a sustainability standpoint, the solar panels, all the fresh air, skylights, those kind of things. So this is documenting that. Here we are at the top of the slide tower, getting ready to go down our 2 slides. Staring out over the view. All right, so we move back down to the main floor at the hot tub, and you can see we have, again, the colorful lighting turned on. Kind of set the mood as you want. This is a feature of the hot tub where you can go outside through the wall and potentially use this in the wintertime as well. So we've extended kind of the outdoor season of this pool. This is a view more of in the summertime when the outdoor pool is open, and you can see all the features that have been incorporated into this. We have a lazy river, another zero entry space with the play structure, and then a little bit of some deep water area over here where we have this green slide that drops into that deeper water. So this is a drop slide, and you just splash into that deeper water there. And then this area down here is a concessions dining space outside during the summertime. You can also see all of the cabanas and large umbrellas that will be useful for shade and separate, having your own space whenever those are rentable. So another view of that pool from the outside, just to give you an idea of the spray features and the lazy river looking back towards the building. So here we are at that deeper water area, looking up at the climbing wall and looking back towards the concessions room and the lifeguard room. There are also some additional bathrooms back down this hallway here. Another view of that concessions building outside that will be open in the summertime. We've also planned in some space for those food trucks to pull up next to the fence and potentially supplement the offerings that could be available at the concessions in the summertime. It's another bird's eye view of that space from a different angle. You can see those 2 slides that are circling around outside and then heading back in through the wall at this point. Dusk view. All right, so this is another view where you can see those slides again circling around and beyond the little concessions building, and just the view that you're going to get from this space, whether you're up on the tower of the slide building or you're out on the deck, you're going to see all those mountains and ridges beyond. It's going to be a pretty spectacular view to the west there. I think these are the last slides we have for the basic amenities.
Yeah, and I think just as a pause point, since we're doing well, we'd like to see the other pictures, but the stuff that you see from this point on are possible amenities that we're not deciding tonight. We want to give you a preview of what might be an option coming in the future.
So one of the betterments that's on the list now is listed here. It's a future phase or potentially future betterment of the 3rd slide coming out of that indoor tower and landing here in a run out outside. So that slide would only be used during the summer months when it can be turned on and it's nice enough to be outside. But it adds just another feature there to that one. And then alternatively, in the future, if there's a betterment for this large, almost 40-foot tall tower for these 2 slides out here. One is a tube slide, so it's extra wide, so you can send down 2 people at a time on one tube. The other one is a racer slide. Let's see. And I have a close-up view of that one coming up here in a minute. This is a close-up slide of the 3rd flume. And then inside, one of the other betterments is this Ninja Cross. And it's a 2-lane ninja-style obstacle course that lowers down from the ceiling and then retracts up into the ceiling. So you can either have it deployed and useful, or it can be up and out of the way if you just want to have space for lap swimming in this lap area. And here's another view of that large slide outside as a future betterment. This blue flume has actually 2 lanes in it, so 2 people can go at the same time. You can see these 2 kids down here, and they could race each other or not, but lots of people can go through this slide, so it's a great opportunity to maximize the number of people who are out here. This is kind of an overall view of those if everything was installed. And I think we're at the end there.
And just also to augment, besides the amenities, you also will probably hear discussion tonight about the term make ready. Make ready is the idea that you can do the underground conduit and equipment to do these amenities as an interim beats. And you'll hear some of that as being discussed as part of the guaranteed maximum price. But to be clear, make ready isn't to build these optional amenities. Those are for future discussion for the physical parts that you see above the ground.
Any questions, or want me to go back, look at anything in particular?
Looks good. Looks great.
I did see in one of the shots there was a wheelchair. Now, how much of this is handicap accessible? Because you don't show any of that.
That's a very good question. It's all of the decks are handicap accessible. Everywhere inside, all the surfaces are accessible spaces. So,
Brooke, to make a distinction, would the big tall slides with the stairs, would those be accessible?
unfortunately, the slides at this time are not accessible to wheelchair folks. You would need an elevator to get up there to the top. Hopefully in the future we'll have something like that we can use in these types of facilities.
But all the pool space within the internal natatorium and the outside pool space would be accessible?
Yes, all the pool spaces are.
We can also get wheelchair-bound folks in and out of pools.
Yes.
Not just the decks.
Right, yes, all the pools, we have a ramp inside, and we also have the lift chairs on all of the pools.
Thank you.
And if you don't mind, just take a second, because the Design and Construction Committee and also the folks at Pasco are going to be managing and operating it. Give us a sense of the discussions that have gone back and forth to come up with this design. What's been the, maybe highlight a couple of the points have been maybe more interesting discussion.
Yeah, I think maybe if we go all the way back to the beginning, we did a lot of community outreach way back in the early parts of this discussion. And some people who are in this room might have participated in that. Basically getting all of the voting, what am I trying to say? Everyone came and looked at all of the pictures of all the different types of amenities and voted on those. And so then we ranked them from, 1 to 24, I think. And we really tried to stick with the ones that got the highest rankings, in getting as many of those amenities into this facility as possible within the budget. So I think we've done a pretty good job of trying to incorporate all of those basic features, while also thinking about the fun features and how we can set this whole facility up to be flexible to incorporate something like, say, the Ninja Cross, where all the structure is already, planned to have this weight attached to it, and the space, the PFD board decided to increase the size of the natatorium within this process. So making sure we have enough space to host all the people that we know will enjoy this facility.
Okay, one more question. In regards to the rooms downstairs, party rooms, that kind of stuff, what is the ceiling height on those?
Let's see. We have 2 different types of party rooms, so I'm going to head back to those real quick. In here, I think we're at 9.5 feet. Is that right, Scott? Yes, 9.5 feet in this room, and then in this room we're closer to 10.5, 11 feet.
Okay, the first one was how high?
9.5.
Okay.
Perhaps also said another way, we have 3 party rooms total, 2 of which have an adjoining room and they're the shorter height.
Yes.
The single room that has view of the natatorium has a little higher ceiling, and it also is intended potentially as a boardroom or a community room as well.
Yes. Any other questions?
I don't have a question, but I just like the board and the members of the community that are watching this now to know that we've been working on this since January of 2024. So this is the culmination of many, many months of very hard and collaborative work by NAC and Boughton and the Design and Construction Committee and the PPFD. And I am just immensely pleased with the product. I think it is beautiful. I think it is gorgeous. It's going to be a ton of fun. And the community's really going to love it. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
With that, Brooke has done her part of the presentation. She is available if we need to bring her back, I'm sure. And then Heath, where are we headed next?
Okay, now we should probably talk about the money. No, thanks, Brooke. I want to echo what Marie said. It's been an amazing process with a lot of great team members who have all worked collaboratively with each other. And I think everybody's pretty pleased with the design. I hope you are as well. So all that stuff you saw in the pictures, except for those last few slides that had the betterments that aren't in, that's all the stuff that is in the GMP that we're going to be recommending that you approve tonight. And so let's talk about the GMP. And first I want to ask Jordan with Boughton Construction to talk about how the GMP is built, what goes into a GMP, because I know not everybody's familiar with how that process works, but a lot of work has gone in. What you've got in your packet and what's attached to the amendment is this Exhibit A, this schedule of values. That's just a rolled up 1-page summary of an estimate that's got tons and tons of numbers and work and documents behind it. I wanted Jordan to share with you a little bit about what's gone into building that and the process of how a GMP gets established.
Yeah, thank you, Heath. Good evening. I'll just kind of walk you guys through what the process it took to finalize this document that's on the screen here. So just since NAC and their team completed the 100% design documents at the end of January, my team has been busy writing and requesting essentially proposals, or what we call them is bid packages, to the subtrade community. So just as an example, what a bid package is, one example of one is the framing and drywall package is just one bid package. And there were, as a part of this GMP, there were 31 of those bid packages sent out. We do it this way because our experience in the market is such that we organize those bid packages because that's how our subtrade community wants to bid the work that's in front of them and that's on the drawings. And that makes them more willing to respond to the pricing and give responsible pricing to us, complete and competitive pricing at that. This also helps us increase our participation overall in the process, especially so for smaller subtrade communities and local subtrade partners in our market. So in response to those bid packages, we get firm, reliable numbers. They are also very competitive. And to give a few stats on that effort, we sent out over 150 to 150 subtrade companies in our local market for those bid packages. And in response to that, we received over 85 proposals back from different subtrade partners. On average, that was about 3 competitive bids for each of those bid packages. And again, we use this to generate good competition and also good complete scope coverage to provide best value back to the project. So those numbers, once we've gathered them and analyzed them, those numbers are essentially included in this is the summary sheet of a very detailed estimate that we put together, our team. And that comprises of the guaranteed maximum price, or GMP, as we'll refer to it here more. Amendment package is being presented here for you guys to approve later in the agenda. Based on all of this, we came in right at budget, and we're going to talk a lot more about that. You know, for me, this is a testament to design build done right, which the whole point is to set a budget and design to get maximum value out of that budget, as Murray mentioned. So I just want to say thank you to culmination of a lot of hard work for a lot of people, NAC Architecture, their sub-consultants, our design build trade partners, Apollo and ARC, and others. So just want to say thank you to everybody. It's been a lot of hard work, and we'll looking forward to starting construction here in earnest. I'll stay up here too.
Thank you, Jordan. I just wanted you to hear what that process is like, because that's how our design builder, Boughton, is bringing value to the process of building this GMP. And I just wanted you to understand that a lot of work goes into creating that value through competitive bidding with the subs. It's not just numbers that Jordan cooked up at his desk one day. They're actually competitive numbers, and we got a tremendous amount of participation from the subcontract community, and that results in better numbers for our project. And so really happy to have that, and just a lot of hard work to make that happen on Boughton's part. Nobody's better at it, and just wanted to thank Jordan for that good work and for bringing that value to the process.
Question.
It seems like there might be questions. Yeah, any questions about that part?
Yeah, Jordan, you send out 31 different separate areas to get bids on it. You eventually award the bid to a contractor. If some of the products they need have long lead times, who is responsible for ordering those parts in? Is it Boughton or is it the subcontractor? And what happens if that subcontractor is kind of lazy and we don't get that stuff in a timely manner?
That's a good question. I'll try to take it into parts. So at this point in the process, as soon as we have a signed GMP, my goal is to send out notices of intent to award to all of those bid packages, the winning bidders, if you will, on those different bid packages. That's the first step in getting them to get the ball rolling on submittals and shop drawings for their products that they're providing to the project. And then once we have them under contract, the onus really is on them to start procuring materials to meet our schedule, first and foremost. But also, I think, obviously everybody's thinking about tariffs and material escalation. It's also to protect against pricing increases from their suppliers. So, there's a lot that goes into how we protect ourselves on that, and I think we're probably going to get into more of that from a contractual standpoint tonight. But really, once everybody's under contract, it's really Boughton and our subtrades working together to order the material when the schedule needs it and avoid increases in material pricing. Right, and yeah.
What about bonding from the contractors? How are we doing that?
We will bond certain sub-trades, Leonard. We wouldn't bond every sub-trade, but there are a select group of bid packages that we potentially would carry bonds on just from a risk mitigation standpoint.
To tag on to that, Leonard, Boughton provides a bond for the whole project as part of their contract. So the PPFD is covered by that bond. And then we work with Boughton. They have suggested within the GMP certain subtrades that have extra risk or are extra large that they would like to bond the sub as well. And that makes a lot of sense in some cases. So we work with them and they will be bonding some of those. But the PPFD project is bonded in entirety by Boughton to the PPFD. Okay. Well, thanks. Appreciate that. So, okay. So you notice if you go to the bottom right hand with taxes and everything, the project GMP that's being proposed tonight is at 40.4 million. That is all in with taxes. If you look at the amendment to the contract doesn't have taxes in it, so it's a lesser number, but I want to talk about total budgetary costs, right? So if we go down a page, oops, what am I doing here? Yeah, if we go down the page here, this page is what I want to show you. This is what is in that GMP. So that 40.4 exceeds the budget amount in our big sheet budget, which the target program was 39,760,000. That was the target. This 40.4 is over that. And I want to talk about why. So there are some betterments that are cooked into this, and then there is another contingency item that's cooked into this also. So if you look at this breakout here, that's what it's in it. We had the target program at 39,760. The PUD costs that we've talked about a few times in this with this board have been worked into this estimate, and they are a little bit north of $300,000 worth of cost that's in this GMP. Those are going to come out of contingency as I've been forecasting, and you're aware of that. In my forecasts, I've been forecasting that we're going to have about $500,000 in costs towards PUD. And then there are 3 betterments that are cooked into this number that are being recommended by the Design and Construction Committee to be included in with the GMP. And one is the outdoor slide tower make ready. So you saw that glorious second slide tower outside with the 2 awesome slides that we all would love to buy. We cannot buy that right now. We haven't eliminated enough risk or have enough money set aside for that right now, but we'd like to make ready for it. So this is making sure that the mechanical room in the outdoor mechanical space is big enough to house the extra pumps and things for that tower. And it's getting all the underground in under our pool decks and stuff. So if we do this, then that slide tower would be possible to add either during this project or sometime in the future without tearing up the pool and the pool deck to do it. Right, so it's a well recommended one, and obviously it also reduces the cost. We're buying part of that cost, so that betterment will be cheaper if we try to get it in. And then the other 2 are smaller ones, but they're ones that we need to do along with this GMP so that we can get these things ordered and in the ground. One of them is translucent bands on the slide. The Design and Construction Committee felt like that would add some interest to the facility and be a positive in terms of revenue generation and interest. That's 30,000, and then the monument sign make ready. So we conceptualized that the PPFD may like to have a digital reader board out at the monument sign. We don't have that in the budget right now, but if we're able to add it, we'll want to make sure there's a conduit for power out there. So this 10,000 just to get a conduit in the ground all the way out to the monument sign, so that if either during the project or in the future, digital reader board wants to be added, they don't have to dig up the parking lots and landscaping to get the conduit out there. So all of those things are in that. That's what add up to that 40.4 million. The next thing I want to call your attention to, I'm going to keep going because I'll probably answer some of your questions. So this is in my monthly report this month, and this is just a visual of what's in that report. But this device will be in my monthly report from here on out. We're going to track the contingency this way. So this is our contingency tracker sheet. Just to explain to it, since it's brand new, we're showing approved items, which the green items that are on here approved are the items that were previously approved. They were recommended by the Design and Construction Committee, and they were approved and baked into that 39,760 budget. But we wanted to show that they are in the design. We show them as a zero amount since they were already approved earlier, and they don't affect our current contingency. So we're going to start tracking the contingency from GMP forward. So, so they're in, but they don't affect the current contingency. And then the yellow items are items that are being recommended for approval, and they include those things I just went over. So it's the 3 betterments and the PUD costs. The PUD costs are really not optional. We're not calling them a betterment because they're not optional. We have to do them. And then the other thing that's on the log down there that's not highlighted is the actual PUD fees. So there's work we have to do for PUD, and that's now baked into this GMP because Boughton will be doing that work with their subs. But then there's also just the fee portion that we have to pay PUD, and that's in here as a ROM. You'll see that ROM column, that stands for rough order of magnitude. That's not an exact number, that's the estimate they gave us, and then they will bill us the actual cost when they finish buying the equipment and putting that work in, the PUD that is. So with, I wanted to raise your attention to this. So what I'm showing on this sheet is your current contingencies at 3.59 million there. And then if all of these things that we're tracking on this sheet end up being approved and being spent, then that would be $943,000 worth of contingency. So instead of my $500,000 forecast that was pretty much just for the PUD, now we're at 943 with these betterments and the PUD. So approving the GMP today will use 943,000 of the contingency. That will bring the contingency down to 2.647 million there. And I wanted to show you, so with that reduction, we will still be at about almost 6.7% of our original construction budget in contingency remaining. And that is a really conservative number. That's a really healthy number. I had made it known to the Design and Construction Committee that I would be comfortable at this point, super comfortable, being at 5%. So being at 6.7 is really, really healthy and comfortable at this time. And I think the Design and Construction Committee can speak up, of course, but I think the reason it's that healthy is we've got some other betterments that are needing to be considered that we may be that they may be bringing to you maybe as soon as next month, but mostly they're saving for those big betterments that are the big items, and hoping that we get to a point where we can eliminate enough risk and be far enough along the project to add those big ones. That's I think where they're headed. Have I stated that correctly, Design and Construction Committee? Okay. And then we'll come back to any of these. Well, actually, any questions at that point? Okay. So then I just updated this sheet. This is a sheet that we've seen before with this board. This was something that was last updated, I think, back in July or August. And that was before all the bonding was finalized, and then we kind of let this sheet sit for a while. But I've updated this just for your enjoyment. So a lot of the numbers we were using were conservative estimates, and I've got some actuals in here now. So with the GMP at 40.443 up there at the top. Inside our total project budget, which has not changed, it's still right about 51 million. The next numbers are those annual operational costs and annual revenues. Those are from a newly refreshed Ballard King report based on the drawings that Brooks showed you today. And so all the things that are actually in the GMP have been considered by Ballard King, and they changed these numbers. And you may remember, I think the last time it said 77% cost recovery, and now it says 83%. So, so that's really awesome. It's super good news. It goes to the fact of being conservative up front, but also I think has to acknowledge that some good decisions must have been made during design, because we got the right things in the design, at least as far as Ballard King's concerned, to maximize cost recovery. So we're happy about that. We're still got just a conservative estimate for sales tax. It's a pretty conservative estimate based on current receipts for sales tax. The annual debt service cost is an actual number. It's actually, if you're curious, it's actually 2.997, but it fluctuates a few thousand over the years. So, but it's always under 3 million. So I put it at 3 million. And then that makes for an annual budget shortfall of 547, which was higher before. And then the PPFD debt service for the Broadmoor development, the road project, is going to be where we've got word that that's going to be closer to 200,000. That's lower than before with the good bid results on that road project. And so it would appear that your annual surplus funds based on these forecasts would be over $1 million. Last time we saw this page, it was more like 400 and change. So, things are looking good as far as the final numbers kind of being plugged in and beating the estimated numbers from before. Any questions to that point? I just want to talk about the contract real quick now.
And one question
Yeah.
on the funds available. Now, I know that the road came in about 30% under what was anticipated as far as access roads, and we had participated for some $300,000 a year in contributions. Was you able to ascertain anything? Was that 300,000 will change or not?
Yes, that's the 200,000. We probably could have labeled it something better, but that bottom number, Leonard, before the total, that PPFD annual Broadmoor debt service, that is for the roads. And it was carried at 260 before, I think, and now we're at 200.
Yeah, let me just augment that too, because we knew that there was an upper bound of 300,000. We knew that it was going to be a little bit lower at 260. The bid came in. I asked Richa Sigdel to update that number. She's still doing the calculation. I asked her for purposes tonight, is it safe to say that we could give a more refined order of magnitude of 200,000? She believed that was true. So that's why we're using 200,000. That is not a solid number, but it should not exceed that amount in this point.
Yeah, so you have chased that somewhat and that estimated $100,000 less is within each budget.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What that means, as in the fact that if you add another slide, you add another something, it may take another person or two or six to do that. Have you calculated that in, or have you looked at it?
Yeah, the new Ballard King report actually took a whack at well, they forecasted what the effect of adding those additional slides would be. And, I can't recite all the numbers involved, but yes, with the there would be added operational costs with the slides, but there would be added revenues as well. And the revenues exceed the added cost. And the rough difference was that you'd be doing about $60,000 a year better with those slides than without them.
And I would augment that is on the projection side from Ballard. Remember that last month we did talk about, we do have, and I'll remind that we have an asterisk with this, in that it would have been ideal and perfect if we also had confirmation from the city about staffing this. That's not available tonight. I do know that the city has released the contract, has had an initial meeting, and hopeful that's likely going to be resolved in the next several months. We're going on a little bit of faith here that what City of Pasco does is not going to deviate significantly, and I personally have a significant amount of confidence, but that still is an asterisk tonight, and you should be aware of that.
Okay. Contract. So the contract amendment is in your packets. That's been reviewed by, we spent a lot of time as a team getting all the language right in there. There's concerns in the construction world right now about tariffs and other things. So there were some steps taken to try to put some protections in the contract for that and mitigate some risks for all parties there. So there's some things in there about that. And then Robin Thaxton, as you may recall, is the attorney that's been helping us with the contracts, and she reviewed the contract. Since the version that's in your packet, we made 4 minor adjustments to some language in the contract. Didn't change any numbers, but 4 minor revisions to some language due to Robin's work with us on some concerns we had. And the contract is ready, and it's ready to sign. So that's what I can report about the contract.
I would augment that I did read through, and they are general conditions that sort of demonstrate there is it's recognition that we are in an interestingly volatile time, and there's a bit of a feedback loop between our design and construction company and us. I feel confident being able to sign it with the slight changes.
Can you describe the change in a little more detail?
I can. There is language in there surrounding an allowance that we all decided to add in. So we've got an allowance in there for potential tariff costs that come up that we added in. And then there was some language that we needed to work out as far as defining what that can be used for and how it should be used, and making sure that that was fair and equitable. And that would be that'd be clarification number 11 in your contract. And I have the new version if you want to look at it too. So it's pretty close to the front of that amendment package is clarification number 11. And then clarification number 12 is sort of the same thing about schedule, and we worked out some language about that. And that also has to deal with the volatile market that's happening right now. And the thing to know about that is that there's a contract schedule that's part of the GMP amendment, and so that becomes the contract schedule that Boughton is bound to. And that schedule does not have a bunch of extra time added into it for any sort of crazy lack of ability to get materials if there's tariffs at the border and things are held up and certain countries aren't allowed to send us stuff and things like that. If that stuff happens, we don't have schedule built into the schedule for that. So it will affect the schedule. We'll mitigate every way we can as a team with Boughton. when that happens. And what that might look like is we might have to substitute some materials, right? If there's a material that we can't get all of a sudden, we'll look for an alternate material whenever we can that's of equal value. And or if it's lesser value, we'll get a credit back, you know. But we'll be looking to work together to substitute materials if we have to stay on schedule, switch materials, you know, alter things that are not consequential to the main amenities of the project, in order to keep schedule and budget. We'll try those things first, and then we have that allowance that we baked in otherwise. So that's the highlight of the language changes.
Who would provide approval of the substitution of materials?
We should probably look at our, I don't remember if we have that particular thing on our stakeholder register. We might need to update, but generally, I would review them and recommend my recommendation, and then I would think Design and Construction Committee, along with Matt, would approve those.
Okay.
Yep. It does. Yeah. Yeah. So it does state owner approval. I think in the language that we added, it specifically says that. Of course, that's all in the contract anyway, in the base contract that was signed a year ago. That's all in there. What happens with substitutions, everything else, we did not change the way that works in the notes that we made in the contract. We merely sought to have some language to acknowledge the market conditions.
So Heath, there are a lot of clarifications in here specific to cameras and lighting and colored CMU and all that kind of stuff. These changes are reflected in the images that we've seen tonight?
Yeah, I don't think they're changes. They're just clarifications of what's in there.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
That's pretty standard in these types of contracts, to try to those items where we don't want anybody to get the idea that we've got a fancier version of this or a more expensive version of that. Like that's the one that was based on, right? And we do that. It happens with certain materials because it could drastically change a price if somebody was like, wait a second, I thought we had, you know, more colored CMU than that or whatever. That would be a definite change of price. So the design builders like to clarify that, like, this is what it was based on. So it's not a change. It's what we've been talking about in all the design meetings. Just noting that, like, this is it. So that if we decide we want to change, we know what we got to go back to.
Okay. It's just that the clarification says, you know, light fixture, empty squat will be changed to a vanity light and mirror. The drawings will be revised. So what we're saying is that the images that we've seen show, if we've seen images that show that light fixture, what we intend.
Is that, what would you say about the light fixtures?
I can answer, yeah. So I think the renderings show it pretty clearly, but there are just some lighting selections that might change to match the budget that we're presenting. So as an example, the vanity lights, I think it was a lighted mirror before. It's just going to be a standard mirror, a regular mirror, not a backlit mirror, but a regular mirror with a more traditional vanity light. So that's the change. I don't know if we saw a UCR rendering here tonight or if you have that in your packet, but that would be an example of a change that we're making.
I take it back. That one is a change.
Okay.
So a couple of them are changes, and that is budget related. That was part of the effort at the end of GMP to get it back in the box because the electrical in particular was kind of high.
Okay, I understand.
All right, any other questions?
I think we're good. What's the next step, Matt?
I would just, we still do have a specific date in our minds to have this completed.
I mentioned the contract schedule, but I didn't tell you what it says. It is part of the amendment. It's in your packets, but the contract schedule that is going to become the contract schedule if we approve this GMP, it lays out a path to open the facility for Memorial Day 26. So there's a lot of things that gotta that'll be the contract schedule. There's a lot of things to happen between now and then, and there's a lot of things that the city and the PPFD will need to do at the end to make that happen, to open, but that leaves some time before Memorial Day to be able to move in and be ready, and it conceptualizes that. So that'll be the goal. That'll be the goal.
And I think it was also talked about in sort of a roundabout way, but just like we talked about that very critical meeting that we had upstairs about the process, all of these things have been reviewed by the Design and Construction Committee and endorsed, as well as the Budget and Finance Committee for looking at it from a value perspective, recognizing there may be a cost that goes up, but a value goes up, that sort of thing. And then also reviewed just yesterday by the ambassadors. All three did attend a meeting in the room next door. Paul Whitemarsh is over here tonight, and if you'd like to have him, I'm sure he'd give you his version summary of it as well. Otherwise, probably a thumbs up is probably the short version. Just wanted to give you that as context because I know that's a very important thing for you. You wanted to make sure and review these things as we go through. And again, this GMP is the critical point tonight in which if you decide to approve this, it's headlong into it, and 14 minutes later we got a facility open as the plan. And then I would just also note I lost my train of thought there. I'll stop there for a moment. It'll probably come back up.
Also, I think that a holiday weekend opening, grand opening of Memorial Day sounds fantastic.
I did bring hard copies of the sheets I showed if anybody wants them.
Heath, are we making progress on the building permit?
Yes, the comments came back from the city last week, and the Boughton NAC team turned those comments around pretty quick, and Brooke copied me on those. They were sent back yesterday, right? Comments, the responses to their comments went back yesterday, so we're hopeful we're going to have a permit very soon. Yep. And there's not a lot happening on site right now, kind of waiting on that permit because the grading is done. But but signing this GMP will get us ordering a whole bunch of materials, like Jordan stated, and that's going to be important to get ahead. We all learned during COVID, we were reminded and got a crash course during COVID on how to manage that supply chain, and that's going to be important here because this is a volatile market. The name of the game will be to get stuff locked down and purchased as soon as possible. And Jordan's got a plan for that, and he's up to the test. He's not going to sleep tonight. We told him we'd buy him a taco, but then he's got to go back to the office.
I've also heard it mentioned in a couple of the meetings is part of that mitigation strategy is that assuming you do approve this tonight, notice goes out to actually do these things. We have 13 acres of land with a fence around it. The expectation is ordering products earlier and later and putting them out there. And I think one of the questions got asked is, what happens if a sub comes back X months later and says, hey, we didn't order that, we can't honor the price? Just walk through that scenario really quickly.
Well, about subcontracts with the subcontractors are going to tie them to their price that they bid, right? So they're going to have to, if they've got extenuated circumstances that come up, they're going to have to follow the terms of their subcontract and, bring a claim for more cost. And it's going to be difficult to do that if they haven't done their job, right? So somebody made that point up here. before I think it was Spence. So, I mean, that's how we'll manage as a team is we'll encourage and enable people to purchase materials for this job and get them in their hands. And the contract allows for that. We'll pay for stored materials. And by doing so, we'll enable the subs to go buy stuff and get it here. And that's going to be the name of the game. And those that fail to do that are going to have to stare at Jordan across the desk and figure out what else to do, right? But that's our first line of management is to just try to speed the process of purchase and acquisition.
Keith, if we approach the city regarding kind of keeping an eye on the site, we're kind of out in the middle of nowhere out there. And it'd be nice if the police would take a cruise through.
I'm planning to let them know and also offer tours. I was going to talk with the police department and let them know that we're going to have a going concern out there with some valuable items. And if they can help us out to do a patrol down again, I think it'd be helpful. At the very least, let them know there's valuable stuff out there to keep an eye out on. I would also, really quickly, Heath, you're also, just to maybe you covered it before, but in a slightly different way. Tonight's is to spend $40.4 million total. It's not actually that in the contract because we've spent, if I remember, we've spent some millions already before. It's the balance of it, so that the 2 times that we've spent on design and then initial construction, the IGB.
About 7 million so far, roughly, and then this is the rest of it. Yep. No,
that would not include.
We've actually, if you look at our budget, we've actually spent about 7 million with the land so far, but we've committed 7 million of the construction budget to Boughton so far. So the contract is the rest of that 40.4. The land is the part of the budget, is in the part of the budget is between Boughton's contract at 40.4 and the total budget of 51.
And that is a coverage of 9A and B in presentation. And I also want to thank Heath and Jordan and Brooke from all the entities. They've been working very hard at this last month especially. And we know too that if you say yes tonight, they're going to be working more hard on this project. But it's been impressive, the collaborative nature as an owner with our designer builder and our owner representative working on your behalf. And it's also been a real treat to work with the Design Construction Committee and Budget and Finance and also the ambassadors and the community to get to this point. Very important tonight, and hopefully you decide to approve and move on to the next step.
Excuse me, just real quick. So could you, with regard to the resolution that is on as I guess as the cover of the contract, could you explain the reason why it's under the, I guess, section 1 there where it talks about the GMP is going to be 37,138,000 and kind of just make sure everybody's clear on where that's coming from?
Yeah, the numbers in the contract are without tax. The contracts are just written without sales tax. So the numbers I've talked to you about have sales tax because I just want to make sure we're talking about how much of our budget is getting spent, but the contract is without sales tax. So Willow Boughton, the total contract for Boughton is 37 million plus sales tax. So that's the difference between the 37 and the 40.4.
Okay, so then it's time for the board to talk and discuss and vote on getting to yes. Maria, you got something you want to add right now?
I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Hang on just a sec, just real quick. I just want to make sure, just so I can say we've all walked through this. I know we've talked about it multiple times, but it's not going to get any bigger than this. This is the cannonball off the diving board, pun intended, moment. So so I just want to make sure we're all clear on what the process and what's going on in case there's any procedural questions. But essentially, where we're at now is this is the final guaranteed maximum price. This is your contract that you're signing, your construction contract to build the facility in its entirety. And so after this, the executive director just said, it's full steam ahead, and it's not going to stop until it's built. So with that being said, the process that has happened up to this point, the reason why these are being called amendments is because we've had to kind of start this process initially just so we could get to this point with regard to design and all of those things. Now we're really talking about finishing out the whole project. So this will be the last amendment before the final guaranteed maximum price is in place. So with that being said, the resolution that is before you tonight is to approve that final contract. And so, and we explain the difference and distinction between the tax, the number that's listed at $37,138,038 plus tax. So that is the contract amount, and the resolution is approving the contract that's with that. That contract has been gone over multiple times by your design build attorney, Robin Thaxton, who's been utilized through Heath. To be able to review this agreement and make sure that it complies with the legal requirements for the design build process that you engaged in. So, so with that being said, just want to make sure that it's clear procedurally what's going on. Obviously, I've reviewed the resolution, but yeah, that's the easy part. It was only a page and a half. So anyway, so any questions? I just want to make sure everybody gets a chance to ask anything and see if we can make sure there's no any confusion related to any of the process that's going on today.
My only comment is it's not a cannonball, it's a rocket ship. And we're launching a rocket, not dropping a ball.
I am ready to make the resolution. Are you ready to receive resolution?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay. I move to approve Resolution 2025-02, directing the PPFD Executive Director to negotiate and sign the Amendment Number 4, Guaranteed Maximum Price, to the Progressive Design Build Contract with Boughton Construction Company /NAC.
Second.
So it has been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 2025-02. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor of the motion as read, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. Opposed, say no. So the motion carries. Congratulations to everyone. Item number 9C, Association of Washington State Public Facilities District, Mr. Watkins.
And I'm anticipating this taking 10 or so minutes as a section. This is something, if you felt that that we've taken this meeting too long, this could be an optional item that could be covered next month. Between this and I think the attorney's report and a couple of staff reports, I'm estimating about another half hour in the meeting if you want to continue on and do section C.
You're saying go right to section C?
No, I'm saying it is C in the agenda, but we had talked about before whether this section 9C could be moved to next month. I'm just checking in with you to make sure you want to cover it. I would like to cover it if possible. And I'm going to move forward and do it then.
Well, I guess I'm a little bit confused here. I'm talking about 10C. Did we want to drop down to 10C or?
No, 9, new business. We've gone through A and B.
Right.
We do have listed on the agenda 9C for the draft AWS PFD bylaws and board representation.
Yeah, I get that, but you want to skip over that?
No, I don't.
Well, then
I'm
let's
just
go into
confirming.
it. I'm fine with
Okay.
that.
All right, diving into it. Before you is another resolution tonight. As you're probably familiar, Association of Washington State Public Facilities is a consortium of PFDs that we've been contributing, involved a member, as well as other Tri-Cities and state PFDs. You also recall that I've gone as well as Ms. Bowdish to the last meeting. It was discovered or discussed that the state organization, that's sort of the grassroots group, does not actually have a set of bylaws. And as there is some activity with PFDs at a state level, particularly those PFDs that have utilized the 0.33% funding, meaning, for example, our friends across the river with the convention center does not affect us directly, but they are becoming more involved in it, and has been a great organization to talk about PFDs as a entity that helps the state. What they have done is a draft set of bylaws and have requested all of the PFDs to take a look at them and indicate support of those by a motion or a resolution. And then also, if they do support that, then they also would like to have specific representation, one board member from each PFD. So sections 1 and 2 is a draft set of bylaws. It's not a complete set. What they anticipate them doing, if you approve it tonight, or the state, all the states PFDs have supported, is when they have their annual conference, they'll finally adopt them, and then also, like I said, nominating a board member, and also would encourage, since Ms. Bowdish attended the last year's meeting, I've left the item blank, because of course it's at the discretion of the board, but would encourage, if you want to, Ms. Bowdish would be a representative from the Pasco PFD on the state board matters. I also emphasize that group is a volunteer group. It's nothing in statute, nothing in law that says we shall participate. It is a voluntary sort of thing, but it's also, I think, a great organization that does help us, and it's been fairly cheap, and I anticipate it still being a sub $1,000 annual dues if we were to be involved. With that, draft set of bylaws and a board member representation request is what's on the agenda tonight.
Questions, comments for Matt? Hearing none. Would anyone like to?
I can't hear very well sometimes. Did you ask for comments?
Yes, please.
Okay. When I read through it, what I seen was there was no avenue to know what anybody would be getting billed. All it said was that annually the board of directors would come up with how much everybody owes. I don't like something like that. I'd like to have something that is finite, and maybe Matt talked about it, but the voices sometimes get scrambled. But anyway, I think it should have a specific as to how they're going to calculate the funds. And I realize it's only $750 or $800 a year, which is not a problem. But when you give the authority to the board to come up with what people are going to pay, that's a different situation. Now, I realize that if they send us a bill in August, we don't have to pay it and just walk away. There's no country, so there's an easy way out. But I comment.
Is our board representative supposed to kind of mitigate that concern, or?
You know what, that's probably a fairly good question to ask. As I noted, I believe this is a volunteer group. I don't believe you endorsing the set of bylaws commits you to be a member. The anticipation is every single year that dues were to come due, that would be a specific motion that would be presented to the board on whether or not to participate in it. So I don't believe the language requires us to pay the dues. Now, this is, again, not a mandatory board. It's a voluntary association. If there's any question about that, if that's not clear, I can clarify that with the folks that draft this, if they were anticipating something different. I could also check to see if there was an expectation of significantly changing the dues, which I believe currently are $750 a year. There's just a single level that so each PFD pays that, and it's not dependent on the PFD size. So there is a bit of a judgment there.
Do you know what the dues are used for?
Principally, they're used for a single lobbyist that works part-time on behalf of the PFDs. They've been involved largely in making sure that there's state familiarity with the missions of the PFDs, and as well the PFDs that have a project that's related to the money that we haven't used, that actually is going to Kennewick and then back in a portion, in a way, is actually keeping that funding continued as they've switching from construction to now maintenance of the facilities. And, there may be a couple other minor things for doing that. I do know that they do have a single annual conference, and you pay for going to that conference itself. If there's any question in your mind you want me to clarify, I could get answers to those, and we could ask and work on this month, next month if you want.
Board members, where's this all leave us? I'm not sure here. Leonard, are you okay that we move forward with the resolution? Or Marie, or any, Spence, you got your light on, go ahead.
I got a question. Article 9, Section 1 is the basic discussion about the dues, and it is a little wishy-washy. I would like to see that clarified a little more by whoever's drawing this up.
My suggestion then is don't make a motion this evening, and I'll bring it back next month, and then we shouldn't do number 2 until we cover number 1.
All right.
So consider this then first draft, and I'll follow up next month with this.
Feels like they're gonna decide how much the dues are based on how many members they have.
It could be that as well, and I don't know the details of the thought behind that, but I think you've keyed in on a good question there, so I'll follow up with that.
Okay, we'll wait till next month. Number 10, a general counsel update. Eric Ferguson.
Yes, so as you all were aware, back in November, we put in our 180-day notice to the city of Pasco to complete our contract early. In the interim time, there's obviously been quite a few changes that have taken place at the city with regard to leadership and a lot of the kind of, I guess, void that was going to be tried to be filled over that time period. And so after several discussions with the city council and city staff and a few threats from Jesse, we withdrew, eventually withdrew based on council's discussions, withdrew our notice of termination. And so we'll be completing the term of the contract until September 2026. So at this point, we're still going to be, our office, Co-Ferguson Law, is still going to be the city attorney for the city of Pasco until September 2026. So at this point, the PFD's ILA with the city states that you shall use the city attorney. So if you wanted to amend that, you could, and that would be something that would need to go between you and as well as the city council that would to be able to amend the ILA. If you wanted to discontinue the use of our office as your attorney, while we also continue to serve as the city attorney. So, but with that, happy to try to answer any questions.
And just so that I'm clear and said another way, Eric, you'd stick around till at least September of next year as PFD's attorney if the PFD will have you?
Yes, that's correct.
And I'm hopeful that I know that that's been a lot of discussion. Unless the PFD wants me to pursue finding another attorney, would default back to the position or the arrangement that we've had. I would note that we will need to update the ILA when we do get the city update, and I think the consensus was we could change the word from shall to has a choice. May. From shall to may would be the anticipation.
Board members, we're all good with that? Okay.
I would be in favor of changing our system to where we instead of shall, may, and then that'll give us the ability at some time in the future to go one way or the other.
Okay, I guess onward.
So what does it take to make that change Leonard's talking about?
Then we are going to need to update to the ILA when the city does complete its evaluation study. I think we'd be able to change that language in that one sentence at that time. So I don't think we should make a change just because of that.
But let me be clear, I don't want to in any way imply that you're stuck with me. So please, if you know, if we need to if you guys want to go a different direction, we can make that happen pretty quick. I mean, it's a small change to an interlocal agreement, which is, you know, can be handled within a couple of weeks. So that's not a requirement by any stretch of the imagination. So if you guys just, you know, are I guess if you're really
Press it now while it's on the table, because September of 26 will come around quicker than you think.
yeah. So it's not a big deal if the board wants to go a different direction and not utilize our services while we continue to serve as the city attorney. So that's not a that's.
I do not believe that. I'll just jump in because I do not believe we ought to go out for proposals at all until we have to. I'm extremely happy with the barrister that we have right now, and I'm glad that he has made the decision to stay with the city, and I appreciate that from a citizen standpoint. So I think this is just cleaning up the books so that we have that ability in the future to make that decision in case something should happen down the road a year and a half from now or so.
Great, thank you, Leonard.
Matt, do you need to comment back on anything of that, or are we good?
Just as a housekeeping issue, and I don't want to muddy the waters, however, at the direction of the board, I did do a request for a proposal, did submit it in the newspaper, and I unfortunately have to report that I got no responses. And I just throw that out there and leave that there. That is a fact. And so if the PFD does want to do another attorney, well, this will be a considerable thing. So Mr. Dietrich's point too, when September of next year comes up, is something that we will need to have some lead time. I think that updating it when we do the ILA update is still the best way to go, but it is something the board will need to probably think about earlier than later, but certainly not this month.
Sounds good. All right, item 10B, Pasco Operations and Maintenance, Jesse Rice.
Good evening, everyone. Yes, two updates today. One involves the current city memorial pool. 2 weeks ago, City Council approved the next step of our project of covering that with the air inflatable pool dome by approving the foundation construction project. And that construction actually kicked off earlier this week, so we are fully under construction. I think the importance, or where that applies to your project, is that means by October, end of October, we hope to have that dome installed, which will give us about 6 months of indoor swim time to be able to start training lifeguards so that we can be prepared to open the aquatic center on Memorial Day weekend. Sounds like we're planning. So great news for that and working forward. I'm working with current staff to implement what our lifeguard training program might be, how recruitments may go, and we hope to provide an update to you about that in the future. So also working with some of the other regional aquatic centers, Hermiston, Moses Lake, Yakima, and Clarkston, to maybe form a regional aquatic center user group here where we can work together to help improve safety and visit each other's facilities and collaborate on programming and classes and things like that. So lots of things moving in that direction. And then I think the other project that we've been working on is the cost study analysis. I think that's been mentioned, that where we wanted to go and ensure that the rate, the administrative fee, not the direct billable costs like the dedicated employees, utilities, and things like that, but the administrative costs that we're sharing with the city, which would be some of my time, some of finance's time, some HR time, things that are fully understood, and we're able to identify those and ensure each agency is understanding those costs and what we're paying for. So we have kicked off a a study with FCS. We are under contract with them and had an initial meeting a couple of weeks ago where we shared a lot of the data, and they've collected a lot of information, and then another meeting earlier this week. So they're in the process of going through trying to evaluate those costs so they can provide those back to us, and those are due no later than May 31st of this year. So hopefully by next month I'll have a progress report, and then that following month maybe we'll have that actual cost estimate, and we'll see how it aligns with the Ballard King estimate and then the information that Heath presented just earlier this evening about those costs. So those are the updates I have for you this evening. Any question on either of those? All right, thank you.
Okay. Ambassador Committee, is there anything to report from the ambassadors, Matt?
Actually, owner's representative report is right before that.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought we'd covered most of that, Heath. But
Probably did, but just.
What I was going to say is, I think you've heard enough from me tonight. I don't really have anything else to offer unless you have any questions for me.
Very good. Any questions? Now, ambassadors report. Anything, Matt? Anything, Paul? We'll go on to the next one.
I would just ask, since you do have an ambassador, anything that you as a board would like to ask the ambassadors committee, if that this would be a good chance. Just checking to make sure, since Paul here. Thank you for coming, Paul.
Paul, what do you think of the overall design?
I'm very excited.
That's great.
Actually, there is one more thing about just to let you know and check in. Part of the ambassador committee includes an appointee by the Pasco School District of a high school student. The representative, Kira, is actually a senior this year. She's anticipated to graduate in June. I've asked both her and the superintendent any issues with her continuing on through the conclusion of the project. It doesn't make sense to try and get a brand new high school representative in, so she would stay on, and unless anybody on the board has concern with that, she'd continue. Thanks.
You bet. Any concerns? Nope. Okay. Matt, your turn.
Really quickly, just to let you know, I've been doing as many site tours as possible. Anybody and everybody. I think that one of the highlights was actually a friend had asked on social media if he could see the site. I got a minivan of the whole family, and including also a brother-in-law, go take the tour. And I've done probably about 12 or 15 of them. So in doing more, and just want to say that something about the nature of going out to a site that doesn't have any forms yet, but saying aquatic facility is going to be here and it's going to have a view like this, in combination with all these wonderful renderings, has been very helpful to the community. One of the points still resonates with the community that not everybody understands the notion that we're doing an indoor year-round facility. So I say, if you remember nothing else, do that. I've also made some laminated 8.5 by 11s versions of it, and sharing those with people to share with their friends and family and contacts. If you want to grab a couple, feel free to grab a couple here in the corner of the desks. We'll keep doing that, and I'm also anticipating when we get to the point where there is a road out there, maybe we do a topping out ceremony some point in the project that's an important milestone, and do a community outreach session for that. Also, after tonight, I'll be reaching out to the media, anticipate hopefully some interviews and it being in the various media that the GMP tonight got done, and I'll probably take them out to the site so that they can do some pictures for B-roll and that sort of thing. So the community is getting to see the site, and if you want to drive out there, give me a call, or I can give you a push pin and a message or email message or text, and providing people can do tours if they want to risk getting stuck out in the sand out there. With that, also, I wanted to let you know, I happen to be in Spokane for another thing, so I extended just a bit. I wanted to see the Croc Center. I know we've talked about it as a group before, that it's a little different than a municipal aquatics facility. Tremendous facility. I didn't realize that they have several thousand people a day go through that, and it's more than just an aquatics facility. It has that other side that has a workout facility and track. It also has a community center and also has a theater and a variety of other programs and resources too. Another model that I believe the stuff that we're seeing in our pictures also are a lot like there. So I would just say, if you ever get a chance to do the Kroc Center, it's a great comparison mentally when you're doing these facilities. And with that, I'm going to conclude my report unless there's any questions or anything that needs to come up. Kroc Center is in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and you know Kroc because Ray Kroc and McDonald's, so there was a massive multi-billion-dollar endowment for various Kroc Centers around the country. That very much is not just Coeur d'Alene, the town, but the region is an incredible center for that area of Idaho, and I'm sure it carries over to Washington as well.
Okay, thank you. On 10F, our next board meeting is going to be Tuesday, April the 22nd. And we don't have any plans for an executive session, do we, Matt? Okay. Hearing none, then it is 5:38, and we're adjourned until April 22nd. See you all then. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Just have one resolution for you to sign here.